cutter.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. This is going to be a new series we're starting on the channel. The rough working title right now is Team Comp Tuesday or Team Builder Tuesday, something like that. But essentially every Tuesday we're going to show off a different team, how you can build it, how you can play it, rough rotation. I hope you're excited for this series. It's going to be a lot of fun. Maybe we'll even take some suggestions for what you want to see. The teams aren't all going to be meta teams, nor are they all going to be like... Some of it's going to be for fun brewing, just a whole bunch of random stuff just to kind of show off how crazy in depth you can go with a ton of the different teams in this game. I hope you're excited. Now let's get into it. Alright, so up on deck here for episode 1, we have the OG national team. This is arguably Genshin's first, like, real meta team that everybody used and played. It has spawned a whole bunch of variants. The essential comp is that it's essentially taking Jingchu to apply Hydro, Zhangling for damage and for off-fielding. She doesn't require field time. And Bennett for buffing, as well as using Chung Yoon as just a quick burst support that needs low investment and can just get some fat melts off. Now, this is one of the best teams in the entire game, and this team is a whole bunch of fun to play if you like that kind of quick swappy, swap around, play all your different kind of characters kind of team comp. This core of Jingchu, Zhangling, and Bennett is arguably the 3 most important units you should have built on every account. But we're not just here to talk about the meta, we're here to talk about the comp, what makes it fun, what makes it good, and how you can use it. So I'm sure, as you could see from some of the footage and clips, this team does like a metric ton of damage, and it is absolutely insane. It's great for AoE, it's great for a single target, its really only weakness, it's pretty good at breaking different kinds of shields because you have multiple element teammates. The only thing it's really kind of weak to is if you're in an area that has like a permanent elemental effect on someone. It's like Electro, but outside of that, and outside of, cases where people are immune to pyro damage, which obviously this team is bad against because it's a pyro-based team, this team is a ton of fun and ends up performing quite well. The other advantage of this team is that it is very, very easy to build. It's comprised entirely of 4 stars that can all be using 4-star weapons, that all can be using very similar artifact sets, that all have a ton of options. And there's also a lot of good scaling on this team. As you get better weapons, invest more into each unit and stuff like that, your damage ceiling on each of these units will go up quite a bit, which is one of the reasons that this team is pretty good to invest into, and I personally recommend it. I think everybody should have this team. Now, you don't necessarily have to have the Chung Yoon variant, but I definitely think you should have some kind of Zhangling based team. She's just like the pillar of consistency, and she's like, it is pretty satisfying to go around pyro-nadoing stuff to death. Alright, now let's go through the builds for the various different characters and talk about some other substitutions you can make or changes you can make that I didn't do. So first, let's talk about Chung Yoon, as he is probably the member of this team that people are least likely to already have built. So for artifacts, just any combination of attack, noblesse, or cryo pieces would be great. Attack goblet, as he almost needs no energy recharge, cryo damage for his cup, and either crit damage or crit rate for his circlet. Main talents you're worrying about, if you honestly just want to invest as little as humanly possible, you kind of just care about this skill here, as you can actually melt every sword that comes off this skill, so you can get some crazy multipliers. You can also level up his E skill here, since Bennett can auto attack in it to get a cryo infusion to then melt. We'll talk a little bit more about rotations after character, a rough rotation after character build. Mine is C6. You don't need any constellations to play any of these characters though in this team, but just to know that all my characters shown are basically C6. I'm not C6ing Bennett because of that ability. For weapons, just any sort of DPS sword works. Serpent Spine is great. Any other crit rate weapon is great. An attack percent sword is great. Sea Lord is fine. Prototype Archaic is fine. Basically any 5-star would be great. The main thing just though is that he doesn't need any energy recharge, since his burst only costs 40 energy, so you're kind of free to just build a huge damage stick for his weapon. Alright, next up is Jingcho. Weapons, Sacrificial Sword almost 100% of the time. This is his best in slot weapon. It's insane. If you don't have it, any other energy recharge sword like Fav or Festering to help fix energy recharge issues would be nice, as he does need quite a bit of energy. If you have the substats to go for it, you could go for a damage sword, something like Blackcliff, Black Sword, Mistsplitter, stuff like that if you have enough ER, but I would highly recommend Sacrificial Sword, especially in a solo Hydro environment. It definitely feels the most consistent. Artifacts. Now, generally you want a 2-piece, or you want a 4-piece Emblem of Severed Fate. I just don't have, like, tons of emblem sets that are super good ready to go, so I went for a 2-piece Hydro, 2-piece Noblesse. You could do this. You could also mix and match like a 2-piece attack set and 2-piece Heart of Death or 2-piece Noblesse. Same standard, relatively standard here. Crit rate or crit damage on the circlet, Hydro damage here, and then either attack or energy recharge on the sands. You're aiming for about 200% energy recharge. I'm actually quite a bit over because I'm pretty lazy, so I just stack a ton. But aim around 200, something like that, you'll be good to go. Talents, mainly just worry about his E. His E does a huge amount of damage if you vaporize it, so definitely level that up and level up his ultimate to get the most damage. He's going to be doing the second most damage on the team outside of Zhangling. Speaking of Zhangling is next. Alright, weapons on her. Basically any kind of DPS weapon works. Ideally, since everybody gets it for free, the Catch is your best free-to-play option, and arguably just your best option. I just have mine on my Raiden, and I am way too lazy to move it, so I just have a deathmatch. If you don't want to use this because, I don't know, you hate fishing or something like that, you could use something like Dragon's Bane, deathmatch, any kind of like crit or based spear would be perfectly fine. Artifact set emblem here, again 2-piece Noblesse, 2 pieces damage type, 2-piece Pyro if you have really good substats. But if you're farming for these pieces, again, hit yourself up with one of these. Goblet Pyro damage, crit rate or crit damage on the circlet, and for the timepiece, you can either go energy recharge if you don't have an energy recharge weapon. If you have an energy recharge weapon, you can either go elemental mastery or attack percent, whichever one you have better substats on. For talents, the main one just to worry about is Pyronado. You can also level up Goba if you want. I probably should because he does actually do quite a bit of damage. And just some little tips for her. You just want to make sure you're picking up, if you can, you want to pick up the pepper here for the attack percent increase before you're pressing your Pyronado, so it snapshots the buff onto it. But yeah, that's all about Jangling. And last and certainly not least is the Benny Boy, the Pyro Archon, the god of Genshin. For weapons, any sort of energy recharge based weapon works fine in this team. I have a Festering Desire, but you could go for a Favonius Sword, Or you could also alternatively go for a high base attack, something like a 5-star if you have it, or even something like a prototype Rancor at max level, just to get the max amount of base attack, since his main buff, his ultimate, scales based on his base attack. I think it's the Alley Slash or something like that, has the highest base attack for a 4-star if you have that. Uh, Although I tend to like the energy recharge weapons because it lets him funnel energy. Specifically, if you want to get a little sweaty, there's an argument that maybe Festering could be specifically really good in this team, since you're going to be using his E to get extra melts and vaporizes, but it's up to you. Artifacts here, generally Noblesse piece, and I generally prefer to always build my Bennett's for damage. Some people like to build their Bennett's for pure supporting capabilities, but I prefer to build for damage. Energy recharge, pyro damage, crit rate, or crit damage on the circlet. Talents, the important ones, Fantastic Voyage, and even his E can be relatively good inside this team comp, so it's definitely worth considering leveling if you play Bennett a lot, which you probably do because he's Bennett. He's insane. So just a final little note about the artifacts here. I was toying around with it, and there is an argument to be made, since you're going to be using E's on Bennett to proc like elemental damage, that maybe you should actually have Bennett on a Crimson Witch set to get some extra damage out of him, and then you can actually just put Chung Yoon on a 4-piece Noblesse set here to get the attack boost to all your characters. You just need to make sure you're using this before you're pressing Jingcho alt and Zhangling alt. Alright, we're just going to do a relatively quick rotation showcase, just real quick, just give you a general idea how to play the comp. Obviously you can adjust for situations needed, but the TLDR is we're just trying to make sure all of our buffs line up with all of our bursts. So you drop Woe buff first if you want. Your goal is to get the Bennett alt down, melt off that, get your Pyronado out, get your Rain Sword out, and then we're just going to be going through and vaporizing Bennett's autos. Use downtime to fill Zhangling while you're waiting for her burst to come back up. Just keep funneling the burst and repeat. Get your buffs up. Get your Rain Swords up. And you lay down your Chung Yoon field whenever you want for a little bit of skill recharge, a little bit of auto attack speed. And you can just auto inside that to infuse with cryo, and then Bennett E to melt. There's a lot of ways you can play it, but just generally you're trying to get that Bennett buff onto the Zhangling alt, on Jingcho's alt as long as possible, and you're trying to get the quad or the triple or the quad melt off your Chung Yoon alt. Alright, so that was the first episode of our Team Comp Tuesday. This is on the OG national team. If you have any suggestions, I don't necessarily have every character, but if you have some wacky things you'd like to see, let me know. Some concepts or maybe something silly. We can try to make it work. Don't worry though, these aren't all just going to be relatively boring meta comps, but I feel like the meta comps are still important to explain because, there might be somebody who doesn't have these, doesn't know necessarily how they work, or just wants a really strong composition. Next week, I am currently tinkering with a normal attack physical Gene because I like Gene and I want to play on-field Gene, so I want a wacky build. So look forward to that next week, but I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe, and I hope you have a great day.